Don't forget to like, subscribe and share the videos.
Hello friends. நம்ம இது வரைக்கும் GS paper 4 ethics integrity aptitude அந்த பேப்பர்ல contributions from the teachings of the philosophers and thinkers from India and the world அப்படின டாபிக் இருக்கு. அந்த டாபிக்கு கீழ we are trying to understand ethics through திருக்குறள். As part of it, we are trying to understand probity in governance. What Tirukkural says about probity in governance. The probity in governance, we are dealing with the chapter Cruel Scepter of the Tirukkural, and we have seen few Tirukkurals, and we shall discuss the next Tirukkural in the probity in governance. Next important Tirukkural is 556, couplet number 556, which talks about the righteousness of the government, how it is related to fame. மன்னர்க்கு மன்னுதல் செங்கோன்மை அஃதின்றேல் மன்னாவாம் மன்னர்க்கு ஒளி. இது ரொம்ப சிம்பிளான ஒரு விஷயம். என்னன்னா, the name and fame of the ruler, the name and fame of the rule, the popularity of the rule depends on how the king or the rulers are committed to right scepter. செங்கோன்மை. அதாவது if a king, if a ruler or if a rule happens to be conforming to the standards of right scepter, if a rule is conforming to such standards that will determine what is right rule, good governance, right scepter. In the modern context of right scepter, நம்ம எதோட அசோசியேட் பண்ணிக்கலாம்னா, we can associate with good governance and ethical administration அல்லது ethical governance. So we can comfortably relate right scepter to ethical governance or good governance in the modern context, in the current context. If the rule does not conform to the standards that make up a right scepter or that make up ethical governance or good governance, then the rule will become unpopular. The name and fame of the king is directly related to the right scepter. மன்னர்க்கு மன்னுதல் செங்கோன்மை. If the king wants to secure his fame and name, he can do it only through following rights, conforming to right scepter. Agdinrel, if it is not so, Mannavam Mannar Oli. Oli here refers to the fame, popularity. The king will lose popularity in case his rule is not conforming to the standards of right scepter. So the righteous government gives permanence to the fame of the kings. Without that, their fame will have no endurance. It cannot endure. It will wane away. It will fade away. Fine. So this appears to be a very generic thing as usual. How is it related to civil services? It's a question, right? Let us discuss how it is related to civil service. If I see, remember always when it comes to ethics paper, you always have this idea of good governance. Right? And in the current context, beyond good governance, we also talk about ethical governance. It is not only enough for the governance to be good, but the goodness must conform to ethics. Right? The goodness must conform to ethics. Okay, what is good governance? We all know good governance has 8 important characteristics. Let us see. See, good governance has its the objective of good governance is promoting social equity and inclusion. Nobody should be excluded. For this, to achieve this, good governance requires certain conditions. The first condition is rule of law. It should not be rule of men, it should be rule of law. Then consensus and participation of the people. What is rule of law and what is equity, what is inclusion, and for that, what is rule of law, how it is to be achieved, that has to be achieved through consensus. That consensus can follow, or that consensus can be achieved only through participation of the people. Fine. To achieve this, what should be the government? How should be the government? The government should be an accountable government, a responsive government, transparent government, focusing on efficiency, economy, and effectiveness. This is how the government has to be. This is how the government has to be. It has to be accountable, it has to be responsive, it has to be transparent, it has to focus on efficiency, economy, and in the modern context of democratic administration, right scepter conforms to, or right scepter is relating to good governance. So, at all levels, as I have already told you in several other videos, in all aspects of the hierarchy, in a democracy, every level in hierarchy is important. At every level, these values have to be inculcated, imbibed. If this is not imbibed, the government will lose its popularity. It becomes unpopular government. When it comes to this unpopular government, we have to look into two important aspects. One is the idea given by Gandhi. The other is given by Kautilya's Arthashastra. ரெண்டு பேருமே ஒரு புள்ளியில வந்து they converge. என்ன சொல்றாங்கன்னா, if there is something wrong happening in front of your eyes and if you are not protesting against it, then you are a party to it. This is Gandhian ethics. Something wrong is happening, you have to protest. If you are not protesting, then you are a party to that wrong. அதே விஷயத்தை கௌட்டில்யா கொஞ்சம் ஸ்பெசிபிக்கா போறார். When the king is not governing the country based on the ethical rules of the great ethical treatises which the king is essentially to learn. To be a king, it is essential for anybody who is a ruler to. For example, if you take the rulers of today, Constitution of India is the treatise. If the governance is not conforming to the constitution, then the king will be considered as unpopular and people have to rise up against arms. Gandhi adhedan solraru. See, look at the freedom struggle. Why did Gandhi focus on non-cooperation movement? Why he talked about civil disobedience movement against the salt law? When the law is wrong, when the law is not conforming to the standards of good governance, you should protest. அததான் திருவள்ளுவரும் சொல்றாரு. எப்போ கிங்குக்கு அகைன்ஸ்ட் ப்ரொடெஸ்ட் அதிகமாகும்? மன்னருக்கு மன்னுதல் செங்கோன்மை அஃதின்றேல் ப்ரொடெஸ்ட் அதிகமாகும். மன்னாவாம் மன்னர் கொலி. He will lose the fame and name. His name and fame will not endure. ரைட்டா? இது இன்னொரு ஆங்கிள் சொல்லுவார் திருவள்ளுவர். முறை செய்து காப்பாற்றும் மன்னவன் மக்களுக்கு இறை என்று வைக்கப்படும். When the king governs his country by conforming to all the ethical standards and values of the society with compassion and neutrality, he will be attaining the divine status. மக்களுக்கு இறை என்று வைக்கப்படும், கடவுளாகிடுவாங்கன்றார். அண்ட் அதே இதுக்கு நேர் குவைட் ஆப்போசிட் தான் இது. If you are not conforming to those standards, you will become unpopular, and such unpopular rule will have to be thrown away. And in a democratic system with electoral politics, it happens periodically, at every election. People throw the government if it is unpopular. So what else he says about cruel scepter and ethical governance? What is the next Tirukural? We shall discuss in the next video. Thank you very much.